There are moments, rare, undeniable moments, when everything you thought was ordinary suddenly feels different. When a simple scroll turns into a pause. When something inside you whispers, "Wait, don't move, this is for you." And right now, this very second, you are in one of those moments. This is not random. This is not coincidence. This is not just another message passing through your life. This is a divine interruption. You didn't just click on this by accident. You didn't just stumble here out of boredom. No, something deeper pulled you. Something unseen, something ancient, something sacred grew into your spirit and said, "Stop. Listen. This matters." And maybe you don't even fully understand why yet. Maybe part of you is curious while another part of you feels strangely emotional, even unsettled. That's because your spirit recognizes something your mind is still trying to catch up with. Because let's be honest, something has felt off lately, hasn't it? You've been moving through your days, doing what you're supposed to do, talking to people, handling responsibility, but underneath it all, there's been this quiet tension. The feeling you can't quite explain. Like something is shifting just beneath the surface. Like you're standing on the edge of something, but you don't know what it is yet. Some nights, your mind hasn't been able to rest. Some mornings you wake up with a weight you can't explain. Conversations feel different. People feel different. Even you feel different. And you've asked yourself, why do I feel this way? Why does everything suddenly feel so intense, so uncertain, so charged? This right here's your answer. Because when heaven is about to move, it doesn't always announce itself with noise. It often begins with a feeling, a stirring, a disruption, a divine interruption that breaks your normal pattern and pulls your attention into alignment. And that's exactly what is happening to you right now. Archangel Michael has stepped forward, not quietly, not casually, but with intention. And when Michael speaks, it is never random. It is never casual. It is always precise, always purposeful, always urgent. His presence alone signals something important. This is not a small moment in your life. This is not just another phase. This is a turning point. You see, heaven does not interrupt without reason. Heaven does not call your attention unless something is shifting. And right now something is shifting around you, within you, and ahead of you. There is a reason your patience has been tested. There is a reason certain doors have not opened yet. There is a reason some relationships have felt strained or distant. There is a reason you felt both pulled forward and held back at the same time. It's because you are standing in between two versions of your life. The old version that you are slowly outgrowing, and the new version that is trying to emerge. And that space in between is uncomfortable. It's confusing. It's heavy. But it is also sacred. Because this is where transformation begins. This is where clarity is formed. This is where truth rises. This is where the chosen are separated from the distracted. And yes, you heard that correctly. You are not here by accident. You are not hearing this by coincidence. You are here because you were chosen to hear this message at this exact moment in time. Not because you're perfect. Not because you have everything figured out. But because something inside you is still open, still sensitive, still able to recognize truth when it calls your name. And that is why this message found you. There are people scrolling right now who will never stop long enough to hear this. There are people who will feel the pull but ignore it. There are people who will dismiss this as just another video, another voice, another moment. But you didn't. You paused. You listened. And that alone tells heaven something powerful about you. It tells heaven that you are ready. Ready to see what you couldn't see before. ready to understand what didn't make sense before, ready to step into something that has been waiting for you even when you didn't realize it. But here is the truth you must hear right now. This moment will not wait forever. Divine interruptions are not permanent. They are windows, and windows can close. That's why you feel the urgency. That's why your heart is beating a little faster. That's why something inside you is saying, pay attention, don't miss this. Because this is the beginning of something. Something that will challenge you. Something that will stretch you. Something that will change you. And Archangel Michael is not here to entertain you. He is here to prepare you. Prepare you for what's coming. Prepare you for what's being revealed. Prepare you for the truth about who you are and why you were chosen for this moment. So don't brush this off. Don't minimize what you feel right now. Don't talk yourself out of this awareness. Because the moment you ignore a divine interruption, you risk missing a divine direction. And you cannot afford to miss this one. Stay with this message. Stay present. Stay open. Because what comes next will begin to explain everything you've been feeling, everything you've been sensing, and everything that is about to change in your life. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you feel this message stirring something inside you. Lesson code 707 is now being activated around your life. Now listen carefully, because what you are about to feel is not just inspiration. It is activation. The atmosphere around you is shifting even now. And the reason is simple yet powerful. Archangel Michael is not silent anymore. He is stepping forward, not as a distant figure, not as a symbol, but as a commanding presence assigned to your moment. And when Michael speaks, it is never to entertain your curiosity. It is to awaken your spirit. You must understand who is calling you right now. This is not a soft whisper meant to comfort you into staying the same. This is the voice of a warrior, a protector, a defender, a messenger of divine authority. His voice carries weight because it comes from a realm where truth is not debated, where purpose is not questioned, and where destiny is already known. And when that voice reaches into your life, it is because something within you has been marked as ready. You may have felt it before this moment, that subtle pull, that unexplainable awareness that something bigger is trying to get your attention. You tried to ignore it. You tried to stay busy. You tried to keep moving like everything was normal. But the more you tried to quiet it, the louder it became. That was not anxiety. That was not overthinking. That was the call. And now, that call has found its voice. Archangel Michael is speaking because you are no longer in a season where you can afford to sleep through your purpose. The time for passive living has ended. The time for drifting without direction has closed. You are being called into awareness, into alignment, into a level of spiritual clarity that demands your attention. And yes, it may feel intense. Yes, it may feel overwhelming. But that intensity is not here to harm you. It is here to wake you. Because awakening is not always gentle. Sometimes it feels like deception. Sometimes it feels like everything you thought was stable begins to shift. Priorities realign. Your tolerance for what once felt normal begins to disappear. And you start asking questions you never asked before. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? Why does it feel like something is pulling me forward? That is the awakening. That is the moment your spirit begins to rise above the noise of the world. And Michael's voice comes into that moment with clarity. He does not speak in confusion. He does not speak in fear. He speaks with precision. You were chosen. Not later. Not eventually. Now, for this moment, let that settle into your spirit. Not as a phrase, but as truth. You were chosen for what you are facing. You were chosen for what is coming. You were chosen for the shift that is unfolding around you. Even the things that feel uncertain, even the things that feel uncomfortable, even the things you wish you could avoid, they are all part of the assignment attached to your life. And here is what you must understand about being chosen. It does not always feel like honor in the beginning. Sometimes it feels like pressure. Sometimes it feels like isolation. Sometimes it feels like you are carrying something that others around you do not understand. That is because being chosen separates you. It pulls you out of patterns that others remain comfortable in. It requires you to see what others ignore. It calls you to rise when others stay still. This is why you have felt different. This is why certain conversations no longer satisfy you. This is why you cannot return to the same mindset you once had. Because once the call begins, you cannot unhear it. Once your spirit awakens, you cannot go back to sleep. And Michael is making this clear to you now. This is not the time to question your worthiness. This is not the time to doubt your ability. This is not the time to shrink back into what feels safe. This is the time to listen, to observe, to become aware of everything happening around you and within you. Because the call to awakening is not just about hearing. It is about responding. You are being invited into a higher level of awareness. A place where you begin to see beyond appearances. Where you begin to understand that what is happening in your life is not random, but intentional. Every delay, every challenge, every shift has been positioning you for this exact moment. And now that moment has arrived. But here is the truth that carries urgency. The voice you hear now will not always feel this close. There are moments where heaven draws near in a way that demands your response. This is one of those moments. This is a window where clarity is being offered, where direction is being revealed, where your next step is being illuminated. And the question is not whether the call is real. The question is whether you will answer it. Will you stay present, or will you drift back into distraction? Will you listen deeply, or will you dismiss what you feel? Will you rise into awareness, or will you retreat into comfort? Because the voice of Archangel Michael does not come to force you. It comes to invite you. But it is an invitation that carries consequence. To ignore it is to remain where you are. To accept it is to step into who you are meant to become. And right now, in this very moment, the call is clear. You are being awakened. Type "I hear the call" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 818 is now activating clarity and direction in your life. There is something you need to hear right now, and you need to hear it without doubt, without hesitation, without trying to explain it away. What you have been feeling is real. That tension you couldn't name, that heaviness that showed up without warning, that sense that something is happening beneath the surface of your life. It is not your imagination. It is not overthinking. It is not weakness. It is awareness. It is the beginning of spiritual sight opening within you. Because there is a battle happening, and it has not been visible to your physical eyes. It has not announced itself loudly. It has not come in obvious ways that you could easily point to and say, "This is the problem." No, it hath been subtle, strategic, quiet, a hidden battle that has been unfolding around your energy, your focus, your peace, and your direction. And the reason it has felt so confusing is because it has been operating just beneath your conscious awareness. You felt it in moments when your energy suddenly dropped for no clear reason. You felt it when your mind became clouded right when you needed clarity the most. You felt it when you tried to move forward, but something invisible seemed to slow you down. And perhaps the most unsettling part, you felt it in your interactions with people. Subtle shifts, unspoken tension, a sense that something is not fully aligned, even when everything looks normal on the surface. This is the hidden battle, and Archangel Michael is revealing it to you now because you are no longer meant to be unaware. You are no longer meant to move through life guessing, questioning yourself, or dismissing what your spirit is trying to show you. The moment you begin to recognize the battle is the moment you stop being controlled by it. You see, not every battle is meant to break you. Some battles are meant to wake you. They are meant to sharpen your awareness, to strengthen your discernment, to push you out of unconscious patterns and into intentional living. And that is exactly what is happening right now. The discomfort you've been feeling is not punishment. It is preparation. But here is where many people get lost. They mistake the feeling for the problem. They think the heaviness means something is wrong with them. They think the confusion means they are failing. They think the emotional shifts mean they are unstable. But the truth is the opposite. The feeling is not the problem. The feeling is the signal. A signal that something is changing. A signal that something is being revealed. A signal that you are stepping into a level of awareness that requires you to see differently, think differently, and move differently. And yes, that can feel uncomfortable, because awareness removes illusions. It strips away what you thought was able. It forces you to confront things you may have ignored before. It asks you to be honest with yourself in ways you weren't before. But this is where your strength begins to rise, because now you are no longer blind to what is happening. Now you are no longer reacting without understanding. Now you are no longer moving without direction. Archangel Michael is not showing you this battle to create fear. He is showing you this battle to give you clarity. Because once you see clearly, you move differently. You stop wasting energy on what does not matter. You stop engaging in patterns that drain you. You stop questioning your intuition when it tries to guide you. And this is where your power begins. You begin to trust what you feel. Not impulsively, not emotionally, but intuitively. You begin to recognize when something is aligned and when it is not. You begin to notice patterns, not just in others, but in yourself. And instead of being overwhelmed by it, you start to navigate it with awareness. This is what it means to step out of the hidden battle and into conscious alignment. But here is the urgency in this moment. Awareness without action changes nothing. You cannot unsee what you now recognize. You cannot go back to ignoring what has been revealed. This is the point where you must decide how you will respond. Will you continue to doubt yourself, or will you trust what you feel? Will you keep explaining things away, or will you start observing with clarity? Will you remain passive, or will you begin to move with intention? Because the battle does not end when you see it. The battle shifts when you respond to it. And Archangel Michael is guiding you toward that response. Not through fear, not through force, but through awareness. Through the understanding that you are not powerless in this. You are not stuck in this. You are being prepared through this. Everything you have been feeling has been leading to this moment of realization. A moment where confusion begins to turn into clarity. Where heaviness begins to turn into understanding. Where uncertainty begins to turn into direction. And once that shift begins, everything changes. Because you are no longer reacting to the battle. You are rising above it. Type ISE clearly now in the comments if this message resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 919 is now activating discernment and protection over your path. As this truth settles into your spirit, understand something deeper. Every moment of clarity you receive is not just for you. It is meant to become light for someone else still walking in confusion. When you choose to support this mission through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are planting seeds that ignite awakening in souls who are still searching for truth. The Word declares, "Those who sow in righteousness will reap a harvest of unfailing love," and right now, that promise is alive and moving through your obedience. I feel this strongly. This is your moment to act, not later, not someday, but now, while the Spirit is stirring within you. Every seed you release becomes a torch in someone else's darkness, a voice in someone else's silence, a breakthrough in someone else's waiting. Do not hesitate when heaven is prompting you. Move with purpose, move with faith, move with conviction. As you give, I declare that doors will open, clarity will increase, and provision will meet you in unexpected ways. Step into this divine flow and release your seed now. There is a truth rising toward you now, and it may feel heavy at first, but it will also bring a deep sense of clarity you have been searching for. You were not randomly placed in these circumstances. You were not accidentally given these experiences, these emotions, these battles, these moments of pressure. No, there is a mark on your life, a mark that was placed long before you understood it, a mark that has quietly shaped your path, guided your sensitivity, and separated you in ways you could never fully explain. That mark is the reason you were chosen. And being chosen does not always look the way people imagine it. It does not begin with celebration. It does not begin with recognition. Most of the time, it begins with confusion, with feeling different, with sensing things others overlook, with carrying questions that seem to have no clear answers. You may have spent years wondering why you could not fully fit into certain spaces, why your energy shifted around certain people, why you felt things more deeply than those around you. That was never a flaw. That was the mark revealing itself. Because when you are chosen, your spirit is wired differently. You are more aware, even when you try not to be. You notice subtle changes in tone, energy, and intention. You sense when something is off before it becomes visible. And sometimes that awareness has made life harder, not easier. It has made you question yourself. It has made you feel isolated. It has made you wonder if you were overreacting, overthinking, or simply too sensitive. But now, Archangel Michael is making this clear to you, that sensitivity is not weakness. It is your signal. It is your alignment. It is the evidence of the mark placed upon you. You were selected because you can feel what others ignore. You can see what others dismiss. You can recognize patterns before they fully unfold. And that ability is not accidental. It is necessary for what you are being prepared to step into. Because the path ahead of you requires awareness. It requires discernment. It requires the ability to move not just by what is seen, but by what is sensed. This is why your journey has not been simple. This is why certain seasons have felt heavier than they should. This is why you have been placed in situations where you had to grow quickly, understand deeply, and adapt constantly. You were never meant to remain in comfort. You were meant to evolve through experience. And yes, that evolution has come with pressure. Pressure to understand yourself. Pressure to navigate relationships. Pressure to make decisions when clarity was not fully present. But that pressure has not been meaningless. It has been shaping you. It has been refining your awareness. It has been strengthening your ability to stand in moments where others would retreat. And now, as you reach this point, you are beginning to understand why. Because being chosen is not about being above others. It is about being responsible for what you carry. You carry awareness. You carry insight. You carry the ability to shift situations simply by recognizing what is truly happening. And that is why the hidden battle you felt earlier became so intense. Because when someone carries awareness, they cannot remain unconscious forever. Eventually, everything begins to reveal itself. And that revelation can feel overwhelming at first. It can feel like too much at once. But it is necessary. Because once you see clearly, you can no longer move blindly. And this is where your role begins to take shape. You are not here to simply observe what is happening around you. You are here to respond to it with intention, with clarity, with purpose. Your presence in situations is not passive, it is active. Even when you are silent, you are aware. Even when you are still, you are processing. And that awareness allows you to make decisions that shift outcomes. This is why you have been placed in moments where you had to choose differently than others, where you had to walk away when it was easier to stay, where you had to remain quiet when others reacted, where you had to trust your intuition even when it was not confirmed by anyone else. Those moments were not random tests. They were confirmations of the mark you carry. But here is what you must understand now. Being chosen also means being challenged. You will face moments where your awareness feels like a burden. You will face moments where others misunderstand your distance. You will face moments where your clarity creates separation. And in those moments, you may feel tempted to shrink, to ignore what you know, to return to what feels easier. But you cannot. Because once you accept that you are chosen, you also accept that your path will not always align with what is comfortable. And that is where your strength must rise. Not as resistance, not as force, but as quiet certainty. A certainty that you are exactly where you need to be, even if it does not fully make sense yet. A certainty that what you are feeling has purpose. A certainty that the mark on your life is guiding you, even when the path is unclear. Archangel Michael is not revealing this to place pressure on you. He is revealing this to remove doubt, to remind you that you are not lost. You are not misplaced. You are not experiencing random events. You are moving through a process that has been designed for your growth, your awareness, and your role in what is unfolding. And now that you know this, you must carry it differently. You must stop questioning whether you belong in this moment. You must stop doubting whether you can handle what is coming. You must stop minimizing what you feel and what you know. Because the mark on your life does not lie. You were chosen for this moment. Not later. Not eventually. Now, type "I accept my calling" in the comments if you receive this truth. Blessing code 1010 is now activating purpose and inner strength within you. There is something deeper unfolding in your life right now, something that goes beyond your present circumstances, beyond your current struggles, beyond the surface of what you can see. What you are experiencing is not just about you. It is about what came before you. It is about patterns that have repeated themselves quietly, consistently, and almost invisibly across time. Patterns that were never questioned, never interrupted, never fully understood. Until now. Until you. Because you were not just chosen for a moment, you were chosen for a breaking. A breaking of cycles that have gone unchallenged for far too long. You may not have had the language for it before, but you have felt it. That strange sense of repetition. The feeling that certain situations keep showing up in different forms. The same types of conflicts. The same emotional patterns. The same limitations appearing again and again, even when you try to move forward. And each time you may have asked yourself, why does this keep happening? Not realizing that what you were facing was not just personal, it was patterned. These patterns were not created by you, but they have been handed to you. Through environments, through relationships, through unspoken expectations and learned behaviors. They became normal because they were repeated. They became invisible because they were familiar, and over time, they began to feel like something you simply had to live with. But here is the truth Archangel Michael is revealing now. You were never meant to carry them forward. You were meant to confront them. And confrontation does not always look like conflict. Sometimes it looks like awareness. Sometimes it looks like choosing differently. Sometimes it looks like stepping out of what feels familiar, even when it is uncomfortable to do so. Because the moment you begin to recognize a pattern, you are no longer bound to repeat it. This is why your journey has felt different from those around you. This is why you have questioned things others accepted without hesitation. This is why you have felt resistance when trying to follow paths that seem normal to everyone else. It is because something within you refused to continue what no longer aligned. That refusal is not rebellion. It is recognition. Recognition that something must change. Recognition that something must end. Recognition that the cycle cannot continue through you. And this is where the pressure you have felt begins to make sense. Because breaking a cycle is not easy. It requires awareness, but it also requires courage. It requires you to step into unfamiliar decisions, to create new responses where old reactions once lived, to pause where you once repeated, to question where you once followed. And that process can feel heavy. It can feel isolating. It can feel uncertain. It can feel like you are moving against something you cannot fully see. But what you are actually doing is shifting direction. You are creating a point where the past no longer determines the future. And that shift is not small. It is significant. It is powerful. It is exactly why you were chosen. Because not everyone is willing to break what is familiar. Not everyone is willing to carry the weight of change. Not everyone is willing to step into discomfort to create something different. But you are. Even when you doubted yourself. Even when you questioned your decisions. Even when you felt alone in your choices. You continued to feel that something needed to change. And that feeling has brought you here. Now understand this clearly. Breaking a cycle does not mean everything changes instantly. It means the direction changes. It means the awareness is present. It means the repetition begins to lose its hold. And from that point forward, every decision you make begins to reshape what comes next. This is why Archangel Michael is bringing this into your awareness now. Because you are at a point where your choices carry more impact than before. You are no longer moving unconsciously. You are no longer repeating without realizing it. You are now standing at a place where you can choose differently, and that choice will ripple forward. But here is where you must remain focused. The past will try to pull you back into familiarity. It will try to convince you that nothing has changed. It will try to make the old patterns feel comfortable again. And in those moments, you must remember what you now know. You are not here to repeat. You are here to redefine. You are here to end what was never meant to continue. And that requires consistency. It requires awareness in your actions, in your responses, in your decisions. It requires you to pause and recognize when something feels familiar, and then ask yourself, is this aligned with who I am becoming? Because who you are becoming is not bound by what has been. You are creating a new pattern. A pattern of clarity. A pattern of intention. A pattern of conscious movement forward. And that pattern begins with you. This is the moment where the cycle shifts. This is the moment where repetition loses its power. This is the moment where you step fully into your role as the one who changes the direction. Archangel Michael is not asking you to carry this alone. He is guiding you through it. Through awareness. Through clarity. Through the understanding that what you are doing matters far beyond what you can currently see. Because when a cycle breaks, it does not just affect you. It changes everything that comes after you. And that is why this moment is so important. You were chosen to end what others could not. You were chosen to see what others ignored. You were chosen to shift what others accepted. And now, the cycle ends here. Type "I break the cycle" in the comments if you are ready to step into this truth. Blessing code 1212 is now activating transformation and new beginnings in your life. There is a strategy at work around you, and until now, it has operated quietly, almost invisibly, blending into your everyday experiences so seamlessly that you may not have recognized it for what it truly is. But Archangel Michael is revealing it now because you are no longer meant to move through this unaware. You are no longer meant to question why things feel scattered, delayed, or unclear. There is a pattern behind it, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The strategy is simple, yet powerful. It does not need to overwhelm you with obvious chaos. It does not need to confront you directly. Instead, it works through three precise movements: distraction, delay, and distortion. These are not random occurrences. They are calculated interruptions designed to keep you from fully stepping into the clarity and direction that is already trying to emerge in your life. Distraction is always the first move. It pulls your focus away from what matters most and redirects it toward what is immediate, emotional, or unnecessary. You may have noticed this without realizing it. Moments where you were about to focus, about to gain clarity, about to take a step forward, and suddenly something else demanded your attention. A conversation that drained your energy. A situation that pulled you into overthinking. A small issue that became bigger than it needed to be. These distractions are not always loud. Sometimes they are subtle, disguised as normal parts of your day. But their purpose is always the same: to break your focus. Because once your focus is broken, delay becomes easier. Delay does not stop you completely. It simply slows you down. It creates hesitation where there should be movement. It introduces doubt where there should be clarity. It makes you question decisions you already felt certain about. And over time, those small delays begin to add up. You start to feel like you are moving, but not progressing. Like you are trying, but not advancing. And that feeling can become frustrating, even discouraging, if you do not understand what is happening. But here is the truth you must hold on to. Delay is not failure, it is interference. And the final part of the strategy is distortion. Distortion is the most subtle, yet the most powerful of the three, because it affects how you see, how you interpret, and how you understand what is happening around you. It makes clear situations feel confusing. It makes simple decisions feel complicated. It makes aligned paths feel uncertain. And most importantly, it makes you question yourself. You may have experienced this as moments where your intuition told you one thing, but your mind began to argue with it. Moments where you felt something clearly, but then started to doubt whether you could trust that feeling. Moments where you knew what needed to be done, but hesitation took over. That is distortion. And when distraction, delay, and distortion work together, they create a cycle that keeps you in a state of uncertainty. Not stuck, but not fully moving forward either. Not lost, but not fully clear. And that space can feel exhausting if you remain in it too long. This is why Archangel Michael is bringing this into your awareness now. Because the moment you recognize the strategy, it begins to lose its power over you. You begin to notice when your focus is being pulled away. You begin to recognize when hesitation is being introduced. You begin to see when your clarity is being clouded. And once you notice these things, you can respond differently. You can choose to return your focus instead of following the distraction. You can choose to move forward instead of staying in hesitation. You can choose to trust your awareness instead of questioning it. This is how the strategy is broken. Not through force, not through resistance, but through awareness and intentional response. But here is where your responsibility becomes clear. You cannot continue to move unconsciously. You cannot keep dismissing what you feel. You cannot ignore the patterns that are now visible to you. Because now that you see it, you are accountable to it. And this is where your power strengthens. You are no longer reacting to every distraction. You are no longer slowed down by every delay. You are no longer confused by every distortion. You are observing. You are recognizing. You are choosing. And that shift changes everything. Because the strategy only works when it goes unnoticed. It only holds power when it remains hidden. But now, it has been revealed. And what is revealed can be overcome. Archangel Michael is not warning you to create fear. He is guiding you to create clarity. To move through your life with awareness instead of assumption. To recognize that not everything that feels urgent deserves your attention. Not everything that slows you down is meant to stop you. And not everything that feels confusing is truly unclear. Sometimes, it is simply the strategy at work. And now, you are no longer blind to it. This is the moment where your focus sharpens. Where your decisions become intentional. Where your movement becomes aligned. Because once you understand the strategy, you no longer fall into it. You rise above it. Type "I move" with clarity in the comments if you are ready to step out of confusion and into awareness. Blessing code 1313 is now activating focus and protection over your mind and direction. Something is shifting and you have already begun to feel it, even if you could not fully explain it until now. It is not loud. It is not obvious. But it is undeniable. There has been a subtle movement beneath the surface of your life, a quiet rearranging of things you once thought were fixed, stable, or permanent. And now, that movement is reaching a point where it can no longer remain hidden. It is about to reveal itself. This is what Archangel Michael is preparing you for. Because a shift is not just a change. It is a transition from one state of being into another. It is the moment where what was once familiar begins to lose its hold, and what is emerging begins to take shape. And that transition can feel unsettling if you do not understand it. It can feel like instability. It can feel like uncertainty. But in truth, it is alignment. You may have already noticed certain things beginning to change. Conversations that no longer feel the same. Environments that feel different even though nothing visible has changed. A growing sense that what once felt right is no longer aligned. And at the same time, there is something new, not fully formed yet, but present. A pull toward something you cannot fully see, but you can feel. This is the beginning of the shift. And here is what you must understand. Shifts do not ask for permission. They happen when the time is right, not when you feel ready. That is why you may feel both anticipation and hesitation at the same time. Part of you is ready to move forward, while another part is trying to hold on to what is familiar. That internal tension is not confusion. It is transition. Archangel Michael is not bringing this shift to disrupt you. He is bringing it to reposition you. Because where you have been is no longer where you are meant to remain. The awareness you now carry, the clarity that is forming within you, the patterns you are beginning to break, all of it is preparing you for a different level of movement in your life. And that movement requires change. But change does not always look the way you expect. Sometimes it looks like distance where there was once closeness. Sometimes it looks like silence where there was once constant communication. Sometimes it looks like opportunities closing before new ones appear. And in those moments, it is easy to question what is happening, to wonder if something is going wrong, to feel like you are losing control. But this is where your understanding must deepen. You are not losing anything that is meant to stay with you. You are being separated from what cannot move forward with you. This is the nature of a divine shift. It removes what is no longer aligned so that what is aligned can emerge without interference. And that process can feel uncomfortable, especially when it involves things you once valued, people you once trusted, or paths you once believed were right for you. But here is the truth you must hold on to. What is being removed is not a loss, is a release. A release of what no longer matches your awareness. A release of what no longer supports your direction. A release of what would only slow you down if it remained. And as this release happens, something else begins to take its place. Not immediately, not all at once, but gradually, intentionally, in a way that aligns with who you are becoming. You may not see the full picture yet. You may not understand every part of what is unfolding, but you can feel it. And that feeling is your confirmation. Because shifts are first developed before they are fully seen. This is why Archangel Michael is asking you to remain present. To not rush the process. To not force clarity before it is ready to reveal itself. Because the shift is already in motion. And your role is not to control it, but to align with it. Alignment requires trust. Trust in what you feel. Trust in what is being revealed. Trust that even when things seem uncertain, they are moving in a direction that is necessary. And yes, there will be moments where you feel the urge to hold on, to return to what feels known, to question whether this shift is truly right. But in those moments, you must remember what you have already experienced, the awareness that has awakened within you, the patterns you have begun to recognize, the clarity that is starting to form. Those things did not appear by accident. They are part of this shift. They are guiding you through it. And as this shift continues, you will begin to notice something important. Your response to situations will change. What once triggered you will no longer hold the same power. What once confused you will begin to make sense. What once delayed you will no longer have the same effect. Because you are not the same. You are moving differently. You are seeing differently. You are understanding differently. And that difference is what allows the shift to complete. Archangel Michael is not asking you to be perfect in this process. He is asking you to be aware, to recognize what is happening and to move with it, not against it. To allow what is leaving to leave, and to remain open to what is arriving. Because what is arriving is aligned with who you are becoming. And that is something you have been moving toward for longer than you realize. This is the moment where the shift becomes undeniable. Where what was once subtle begins to take form. Where what you have been feeling begins to make sense. And once that happens, there is no going back. Because you are no longer who you were before the shift began. You are now in motion. Type "I embrace the shift" in the comments if you are ready to move forward with clarity. Lesson code 1414 is now activating alignment and forward movement in your life. Now the moment becomes more focused, more precise, more demanding of your attention because everything you have felt, everything you have recognized, everything that has been revealed to you is leading to this exact point, the test of alignment. This is not a test in the way you may be used to thinking about it. It is not about passing or failing in a visible sense. It is about whether your actions, your choices, and your responses match the awareness that has been given to you. Because awareness without alignment creates tension. You already feel that tension, don't you? That inner pull when you know what feels right, but something tries to pull you in another direction. That moment when your intuition speaks clearly, but your habits try to override it. That pause where you sense what you should do, but hesitation begins to creep in. That is the test, not of your strength, but of your willingness to align with what you now know. Archangel Michael is making this clear. You are no longer in a place where you can claim confusion. You are no longer in a space where you can say you did not feel it, did not sense it, did not recognize it. You have been shown enough to move differently now. And this is where your decisions begin to carry weight. Because alignment is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about choosing consciously. Choosing what supports your clarity. Choosing what protects your focus. Choosing what reflects the direction you are meant to move in. And those choices are not always comfortable. There will be moments where alignment asks you to step away when it would be easier to stay. Moments where alignment asks you to remain silent when reacting would feel more natural. Moments where alignment asks you to trust what you feel even when it is not validated by others. These are the moments where your growth becomes real. Because it is easy to feel aware when nothing challenges you. It is easy to feel clear when everything is calm. But true alignment is revealed in moments of pressure. In moments where the old patterns try to return. In moments where distraction, delay, and distortion attempt to pull you back into unconscious movement. This is why this moment is so important. You are being asked to move with intention. To pause before reacting. To observe before responding. To recognize before deciding. And that pause is where your power lies. Because in that pause, you are no longer operating automatically. You are no longer repeating what has been. You are choosing what comes next. This is the difference between being aware and being aligned. Awareness shows you the path. Alignment is what allows you to walk it. And right now, the path is becoming clearer. You are beginning to see what drains your energy. You are beginning to recognize what disrupts your focus. You are beginning to understand what no longer belongs in your direction. But recognition alone is not enough. You must act on it. And that is where many hesitate. Because action requires change. It requires stepping into the unfamiliar. It requires trusting that what you feel is guiding you correctly, even when the outcome is not fully visible yet. But here is what you must remember. Alignment is not about knowing every step. It is about taking the next step with clarity. You do not need to have everything figured out. You do not need to see the entire path. You only need to move in the direction that aligns with what you now understand. And that movement, even if it feels small, creates momentum. Momentum that pulls you forward. Momentum that strengthens your clarity. Momentum that makes the next decision easier than the last. This is how alignment builds. But here is the urgency that Archangel Michael is bringing to you now. This moment will test you through subtle choices, not dramatic ones. It will show up in everyday situation, in conversations, in reactions, in decisions that seem small but carry significance. And in those moments, you must stay aware, because the difference between moving forward and staying in place will not come from one large decision. It will come from consistent alignment in small moments. Moments where you choose clarity over confusion. Moments where you choose focus over distraction. Moments where you choose intention over habit. This is where your transformation becomes real. Not in what you say you understand, but in how you move with that understanding. And as you begin to align, something shifts. The tension begins to ease. The confusion begins to clear. The direction begins to stabilize. Because alignment removes resistance. It allows you to move with what is already unfolding instead of against it. And that is where flow begins. Archangel Michael is not asking you to force anything. He is asking you to remain aligned with what is already being revealed. To trust that what you feel is guiding you. To act in ways that reflect the clarity you now carry. Because you have reached a point where your next steps matter more than ever. This is not a moment to drift. This is not a moment to ignore what you know. This is a moment to align. And once you do, everything begins to move differently. Type "I walk in alignment" in the comments if you are ready to move with intention. Blessing code 1515 is now activating discipline and clarity in your decisions. As this moment of alignment settles within you, understand that your decision to move with clarity does not just transform your path, it becomes a light for others still searching for direction. Every time you support this mission through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description, you are sowing into a divine work that reaches hearts in their most uncertain moments. The word declares that those who sow generously will also reap generously, and this is not just a promise. It is a living flow of blessing moving through your obedience right now. I feel this strongly for you. This is not just support. This is participation in something greater than yourself. When you act in this moment, you are helping carry truth, clarity, and awakening to those who are still in confusion. Do not delay when the Spirit is prompting you to move. Release your seed with faith, knowing that what you give multiplies far beyond what you can see. Step forward now and be part of this divine alignment. There comes a point in every transformation where clarity demands a response, and that response is not always addition. Sometimes it is subtraction. Sometimes it is release. Sometimes it is separation. And this is where many hesitate, because letting go does not always feel like progress. It can feel like loss. It can feel like distance. It can feel like something is being taken away. But what you are entering now is not a season of loss. It is a season of refinement. Because not everything that has been part of your life can go where you are going. You have already begun to feel this. A subtle distance that has formed between you and certain people. A shift in energy in spaces that once felt familiar. That quiet realization that some conversations no longer resonate, some environments no longer support you, and some connections no longer align with who you are becoming. And while part of you may want to hold on, to maintain what has been, another part of you knows the truth. Something is changing. This is the separation season. And it is not random. It is not accidental. It is necessary. Because growth requires space. Space for clarity to expand. Space for focus to stabilize. Space for alignment to deepen. And that space cannot exist if you are still holding on to what disrupts it. Archangel Michael is bringing this into your awareness now, because you are at a point where holding on will create more confusion than clarity. Where maintaining certain connections will drain more than they give. Where staying in certain environments will slow your movement rather than support it. But here is where the challenge arises. Separation does not always come with clear explanations. It does not always come with closure. It does not always come with understanding from others. Sometimes, it simply shows up as a knowing. A quiet, undeniable awareness that something is no longer meant to continue in the same way. And that knowing can feel uncomfortable. You may question it. You may try to justify staying. You may wonder if you are overreacting or misunderstanding. But this is where your alignment must guide you. Because not everything that feels familiar is meant to remain. Not everything that has history is meant to have a future. And the longer you resist that truth, the heavier it will feel. This is why separation often comes with emotion. Not because it is wrong, but because it is real. You are not just letting go of people or environments. You are letting go of versions of yourself that existed within those spaces. You are releasing patterns, expectations, and attachments that once felt necessary but are no longer aligned. And that release creates space for something new. But here is the part you must hold on to. Separation is not rejection. It is redirection. It is not about pushing people away. It is about allowing yourself to move forward. It is about recognizing that alignment sometimes requires distance, and that distance is not always permanent. Some connections may return in a different form, at a different time, under different circumstances. But right now, in this moment, your focus must remain on what is unfolding for you. Because what is unfolding requires clarity. It requires energy that is not divided. It requires attention that is not scattered. It requires a presence that is not constantly pulled backward. And this is why certain things cannot follow you into this next phase. Not because they are bad, not because they are wrong, but because they are not aligned with where you are going. And that distinction matters. Because when you understand that, you stop trying to force things to stay. You stop trying to maintain what is naturally shifting. You stop resisting the process that is already in motion. Instead, you begin to move with it. You allow distance where it is forming. You accept silence where it is appearing. You trust that what is leaving is making room for what is coming. And that trust is what carries you through this season. Archangel Michael is not asking you to cut everything off abruptly or react impulsively. He is asking you to remain aware, to observe what is naturally shifting, to recognize where your energy feels supported and where it feels drained, to make decisions that reflect your alignment, not your attachments. Because attachment will try to keep you in what feels known, but alignment will guide you toward what is necessary. And right now, what is necessary is movement. Movement away from what no longer supports you. Movement toward what is beginning to emerge. Movement into a space where your clarity can fully take shape. This is not an easy process, but it is a powerful one. Because once separation begins, you start to see more clearly. You start to feel more stable. You start to recognize yourself in a different way. You start to understand that what you thought you needed was not truly necessary for your growth. And that realization changes everything. Because it frees you. Frees you from trying to maintain what is no longer aligned. Frees you from carrying what is no longer yours. Frees you to step fully into what is ahead. And what is ahead requires you to be present, focused, and aligned. This is why this season is so important. You are not being pulled away from something without reason. You are being positioned for something greater. And that positioning begins with letting go. Type "I release what no longer serves me" in the comments if you are ready to step into this truth. Blessing code 1616 is now activating peace and clarity in your transitions. Something is rising within you now, and it is not something new. It is something that has always been there, waiting for this exact moment to awaken fully. You have felt it in small flashes before, moments where you suddenly saw things clearly, moments where your voice carried more certainty, moments where your presence shifted the atmosphere without you even trying. But now, those moments are no longer temporary. They are becoming your foundation. This is the rise of your authority. And understand this clearly. Authority is not about control over others. It is not about dominance, force, or proving anything to anyone. True authority is internal. It is the quiet, unshakable certainty that you know who you are, what you stand for, and how you move forward regardless of what is happening around you. It is the ability to remain grounded when everything else feels uncertain. It is the ability to make decisions without constantly seeking validation. It is the ability to stand in your clarity, even when others do not understand it. This is what is awakening within you now, because everything you have gone through up to this point, the awareness, the battles, the breaking of cycles, the separation, it has all been preparing you for this. Not to remain in confusion, not to stay in questioning, but to step into a level of certainty that allows you to lead your own direction. You are no longer meant to be pulled by every external influence. You are no longer meant to be swayed by every opinion. You are no longer meant to second-guess what you already feel is true. This is the shift, where you move from reacting to deciding, from questioning to knowing, from hesitation to action. And yes, this may feel unfamiliar at first, because stepping into authority requires you to release the need for constant reassurance. It requires you to trust your awareness without needing it to be confirmed by others. It requires you to stand firm, even when it would be easier to adjust yourself to keep things comfortable. But comfort is not your path anymore. Clarity is, and clarity demands that you move differently. You may begin to notice that your tolerance for certain things has changed. Situations that you once accepted easily now feel misaligned. Conversations that you once engaged in now feel unnecessary. Decisions that once took you a long time to make now become clear much faster. This is not you becoming distant. This is you becoming decisive. This is what authority looks like. It is not loud. It is not forceful. It is precise. It knows when to engage and when to step back. It knows when to speak and when to remain silent. It knows when to move and when to wait. And this knowing is what separates you from who you used to be. Because before, you may have moved based on reaction, based on what others expected, based on what felt easier in the moment, based on avoiding discomfort. But now, you are moving based on alignment, based on awareness, based on a deeper understanding of what truly matters. This is why Archangel Michael has been guiding you to this point, not just to reveal what is happening around you, but to strengthen what is within you. Because once your internal authority is established, external situations lose their power to control you. You begin to see things for what they are. You begin to respond instead of react. You begin to move with intention instead of uncertainty. And that shift changes everything. Because now, you are no longer waiting for the right moment. You are creating it. You are no longer looking for direction outside of yourself. You are recognizing it within. You are no longer hesitating at every step. You are moving forward with clarity. But here is where you must remain grounded. Authority does not mean you will never face challenges. It means you will face them differently. With awareness. With control over your response. With the ability to navigate without losing yourself in the process. And that is your strength. Because what once overwhelmed you will no longer have the same effect. What once confused you will no longer hold the same weight. What once delayed you will no longer stop your movement. You are not the same person who entered this process. You have seen more. You have understood more. You have become more. And now, it is time to stand in that. To stop shrinking your awareness. To stop doubting your clarity. To stop stepping back into patterns you have already outgrown. This is the moment where you fully step forward. Not aggressively, not forcefully, but confidently. With a quiet strength that does not need to prove itself. With a clear direction that does not need constant validation. With an understanding that you are exactly where you need to be. Archangel Michael is not just guiding you anymore. He is standing with you as you step into this authority, as you begin to move with intention, as you begin to embody the awareness you have gained. Because this is what you were being prepared for, not just to understand but to lead yourself forward. And once you step into that fully, everything begins to align differently. Type "I step into my power" in the comments if you are ready to stand in your authority. Blessing code 1717 is now activating confidence, clarity, and inner strength within you. This is where everything becomes clear and at the same time, everything becomes urgent. Because what you are standing in right now is not just a phase, not just a process, not just another moment that will pass without consequence. This is a window, a precise, intentional opening in your life where clarity, alignment, and direction are all within reach at the same time. And Archangel Michael is making one thing unmistakably clear. This window will not remain open forever. You have already felt the shift. You have already recognized the patterns. You have already begun to separate from what no longer aligns. You have already stepped into a level of awareness that cannot be undone. But awareness alone is not the completion of this moment. It is only the beginning. Because what happens next depends entirely on how you respond to what you now know. This is the final warning. Not a warning meant to create fear, but a warning meant to create focus. Because there is a difference between recognizing a moment and acting within it. There is a difference between feeling clarity and moving with it. And right now, you are being called to move. You may feel the weight of that call. The sense that something is asking more of you than before. The awareness that staying where you are is no longer an option, even if part of you wants to remain in what feels familiar. That feeling is not pressure without purpose. It is urgency with direction. Because moments like this do not repeat endlessly. Opportunities for clarity do not remain open indefinitely. Windows for alignment do not wait for comfort. Calls to move forward do not adjust themselves to hesitation. They appear. They open. And they require response. And this is where many people lose momentum. Not because they are incapable, not because they are unprepared, but because they delay. They wait for certainty to feel easier. They wait for the moment to feel less intense. They wait for confirmation from outside sources before trusting what they already feel inside. But delay in a moment like this does not create clarity. It weakens it. Because the longer you wait, the more the old patterns try to return. The more distraction begins to pull at your focus again. The more doubt attempts to re-enter your thinking. And before you realize it, the clarity you felt begins to fade. Not because it was not real, but because it was not acted on. This is why Archangel Michael is speaking with such precision now. You cannot afford to drift in this moment. You cannot afford to ignore what has been revealed. You cannot afford to return to what you have already outgrown. Because this is not just about a decision. It is about direction. A direction of your movement. A direction of your focus. The direction of your energy. And once that direction is set, everything that follows begins to align with it. But here is what you must understand. Moving forward does not mean everything becomes easy. It means everything becomes clear. It means you stop questioning what you already know. It means you stop negotiating with what is no longer aligned. It means you stop delaying the steps that are already in front of you. This is where your discipline becomes important. Not discipline in a sense of force, but discipline in a sense of consistency. The ability to remain aligned even when distractions appear. The ability to continue moving even when the outcome is not fully visible. The ability to trust your direction even when it is not understood by others. Because this moment is not about external validation. It is about internal confirmation. You already feel it. You already know it. You already sense what needs to happen next. And that knowing is a knife. But it only becomes real when you act on it. This is why this window matters. Because it is giving you the opportunity to step fully into what you have been preparing for. To move from awareness into action. To shift from understanding into embodiment. To stop standing at the edge of change and finally step into it. And once you step into it, everything begins to respond differently. Opportunities begin to align. Clarity begins to stabilize. Omega begins to build. Not because everything around you changes instantly, but because you do. And that change in you shifts everything that follows. Archangel Michael is not asking you to be perfect in this moment. He's asking you to be present. To recognize the weight of what is being offered to you. To understand that this is not a moment to postpone, to ignore, or to minimize. This is a moment to move. Because once this window begins to close, it becomes harder to access the same level of clarity. Not impossible, but delayed. And delay is exactly what you have been guided away from. You have come too far to step back now. You have seen too much to ignore it now. You have felt too much to dismiss it now. This is the moment where everything you have been preparing for becomes real. And the only question that remains is this: will you step forward or will you hesitate? The government is noble shape will come that. Type "I will not miss this moment" in the comments if you are ready to act with clarity. Blessing code 1818 is now activating urgency, discipline, and forward movement in your life. Now, after everything that has been revealed, everything that has been stirred within you, everything that has shifted in your awareness, you must hear this final truth clearly, deeply, and without hesitation. This moment you are standing in is not leading you into uncertainty. It is not leading you into confusion. It is not leading you into loss. It is leading you into victory. But this victory is not what you once imagined. It is not loud. It is not chaotic. It is not something that needs to be proven to the world. It is internal first. It is the moment where your mind becomes clear, where your decisions become steady, where your direction becomes undeniable. Because true victory begins the moment you are no longer divided within yourself. And that is exactly what is happening now. The confusion that once surrounded you is losing its hold. The patterns that once repeated without awareness are being broken. The distractions that once pulled your focus are no longer as effective. And the doubt that once made you hesitate is beginning to fade. This is what victory looks like at the beginning. It is subtle, but it is powerful. Because once your internal state shifts, everything external begins to respond differently. You will begin to notice it. Situations that once felt complicated will become simple. Decisions that once felt overwhelming will become clear. People who once confused you will no longer have the same influence. Not because they have changed, but because you have. And that change is what creates your victory. Archangel Michael has not guided you through this process to leave you uncertain. He has brought you through awareness, through alignment, through separation, through authority, so that you can stand in this moment fully grounded in who you are. Because what is ahead of you requires stability. It requires clarity that does not shift with every situation. It requires confidence that does not depend on external validation. It requires a presence that is not easily shaken. And you are becoming that. You are no longer reacting to everything around you. You are no longer questioning every step you take. You are no longer waiting for permission to move forward. You are moving with intention. This is where everything begins to align. Opportunities will begin to meet you where you are. Connections will begin to feel more natural, more balanced. Your path will begin to feel less forced and more directed. Not because everything becomes perfect, but because you are now aligned with what is meant for you. And here is the truth you must carry forward. This moment was never meant to break you. It was meant to reveal you, to show you who you are when you are aware, to show you how you move when you are aligned, to show you what happens when you trust what you feel. Because the version of you that exists now is not the same as before. You are clear. You are stronger. You are more intentional. And that version of you is what creates the life that is ahead. But understand this, victory is not a single moment. It is a continuation of alignment. It is something you maintain through your choices, your focus, and your awareness. You must continue to move with clarity. You must continue to protect your focus. You must continue to trust your direction. Because the moment you do, everything continues to unfold in alignment with you. Archangel Michael's message does not end here. It continues through your actions, through how you respond to what has been revealed, through how you carry this awareness into your everyday life. Because now, you are no longer searching. You are walking in clarity, walking in direction, walking in the understanding that you were chosen for this moment for a reason. And that reason is now becoming visible. This is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning of a new level within it. A level where you no longer doubt what you feel. A level where you no longer hesitate at every step. A level where you move with quiet certainty. And that certainty is your victory. So stand in it. Do not shrink back. Do not question what you already know. Do not return to what you have already outgrown. Because what is ahead of you is aligned, clear, and waiting. And you are ready for it. Type "I step into my victory" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2020 is now activated, surrounding your life with clarity, protection, and forward movement. And as this victory settles into your spirit, understand this. Every step you take in clarity becomes a light for someone still walking in darkness. This mission is not just about messages. It is about reaching souls at the exact moment they need awakening. When you give through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description or QR code on your screen, you are not supporting a channel. You are sowing into a harvest of transformed lives. The word speaks. Cast your seed upon the waters, and in due time, it will return to you. And this is that moment of divine release. I feel this deeply for you. This is your opportunity to act in alignment with what has just been activated within you. Your giving is not small. It is a prophetic act that multiplies beyond what you can see. As you release your seed, I declare increase, clarity, and divine favor to return to you in ways that will confirm this moment. Step forward now, and let your obedience become someone else's breakthrough.